Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Go ahead, Kim.
I have an appointment to the planning board for William Hodgman.
I'll make the motion that we approve, approve Billy Hodgman for a planning board. Bill Hodgman.
Motion made and seconded to approve Bill Hodgman for the planning board alternate. Discussion?
I think it would be a good, you seem in the candidates forum, they have a good background, good knowledge of that sort of thing. I think he'd be a good addition. Glad to see him still involved.
Further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Anything else, Jim? Jill?
All right, I don't have much of anything. If I had known that we would have a light evening, we scheduled the public hearing for earlier. But I sent out an email to everybody that John Vatican, our town attorney, will be down for a right to know and social media workshop for the boards and any employees that want to attend. School board is invited too. I haven't gotten the notices out yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have the date yet?
Yes, it's going to be April 30th at 6 o'clock. I think I sent an email to everybody.
You probably did.
He's my witness. Okay. Okay, and then, well, I've been busy scheduling all the workshops, you know, when all the different workshops are going to be taking place. We have the one on budget law, which is going to be taking place. I don't know, did I get response back from you? I know Bernie's going to go, you were going to go.
For budget law?
Yeah, the budget law workshop.
Yeah.
Is on Wednesday.
That's with Steve.
That's with the gentleman from the New Hampshire Municipal Association.
I'm not sure
Steve
that's the one
Butler.
I attended.
Last year or 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
so I'll take a look at it again. I saw, I
Okay.
did see the email.
All right. You're going to go. You're going to go?
Yeah.
Oh.
You give me my response?
Yes, I think I did. I have a list upstairs. I've been getting a lot of responses. And then, what else do I have scheduled? We're going to Northern Territory. We're all set for that. And then, I'm trying to do as many as I can. The one in Keene, the delegation meeting. You're
That's
going.
April 2nd.
That's April 2nd.
Right.
You're going.
Tuesday?
You're going to go. Bernie's going.
Yeah, so.
And you're going to go. Okay. All right. Anybody want to carpool with me? Because I'll meet you at the parking lot. Like I usually do. You've ridden with me.
I'll let you know.
All right, we picked up Bernie. Yeah. And you can meet me at the parking lot. I'll drive you. You're already in Keene.
And I'll be getting my daughter and stuff, so I'll go. I'll
Okay.
get myself.
All right, I just want to make sure. All right, I usually meet everybody up there about between 5 and 5:15, because it takes about a half hour to get in Keene, and then finding parking and all that kind of stuff. So
Same place as before, right?
it's not at the courthouse. It's not at the old courthouse or county house or whatever you want to call it. It's at the court, the old courtroom at the town hall.
So it's in City
Yeah,
Hall.
City Hall.
So I'm sorry,
Upstairs,
Luke
City Hall.
goes just.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yep, right upstairs.
Upstairs, City Hall.
Okay, and I have a non-public that I want to go into under personnel. And that's really all I have right now. We are looking at the personnel policy to revamp it. I took a look at it. I have a second set of eyes taking a look at it to make changes. changes, that we want to get to the town attorney, and then we'll have a meeting with, employees so that they know what the changes are and so on and so forth. And then I also have, Rick is gonna help me out with this one because he knows a little bit more about LED lighting, but I got some information back on LED lighting. And there's some contractors that install it, so he's getting the information on the LED, what it would cost to change the LED. It's a little different now than it was a few years ago. Public Service in New Hampshire, all they do is they take back the old lights and we take them down, and they give us $100 towards, and the new lights are like $160 without installation. So that's what we're looking at right now. He's gonna get some more information and get some prices from the actual contractors. The one thing Public Service did say that if you go to the LED lighting, if there's any repairs that need to be made, they charge $95 to come out here and take care of it. So, we're looking at that. So I'll get the figures together and decide. And the engineer that I'm working with at Public Service will let us know what the cost is.
$95 service fee or per hour
Or
or
hour.
per hour?
Is it not a charge if it's not LED, or is it just
If it's
more?
their street lights, they come out and fix them. But if it's LED, they can charge for it because they're actually owned by another company. They're actually owned by a company
If
that's
the
a
lights that are in
contractor.
it now come with it, or?
Yeah, so we'll get that all together and figure that one out because
Is this, Jill, to address the downtown that we talked about, or?
we could just do sections at a time, and that's what the selectmen choose to do. We have a listing of all the lights by where they're located, what streets they're on, the numbers of the poles and so on and so forth. So Rick is really good at that kind of stuff, so he's gonna work on it for me. I have no idea, I know it's LED lighting, but I'm not a technical person when it comes to lighting, only computers, with that being said, besides the non-public, we wanted to open up the discussion on Hope Engine Building itself.
Yep.
All right, just to let you know, I had a conversation with Andrew Cushing from Preservation Alliance today. My understanding of the Preservation Alliance is that they are acting on behalf of the 501c for Hope Engine. They hold the monies for any donations and stuff like that in an account. So there's like a little sub.
Any MOU would be with,
That's what he's gonna find out. And I asked him about the MOU, would it be with the Preservation Alliance, or would it be with Hope Engine itself as their, I guess, subgroup of some sort of like a farmer's market. So he's gonna find out that information, so we'll find out more about that as soon as he gets back to me.
so what Jill's talking about, there are two pieces that we're gonna talk about tonight. One is gonna be locations, and the other was that in order to move this process forward, the town has to enter into an MOU, and we would need to have verification or authentication, whatever you want to call it, of the 501 or whatever organization it is that we're going to enter into an MOU with, memorandum of understanding. And so it sounds like we are getting further information on that, and we will know what direction to go with that. So the discussion that I want to have tonight with the board is where the select board would want to see the Hope Engine go, what location. There were two locations that were proposed. I don't remember the name, there's a field right over here. And then down in the river park. A question was raised with the river park as to whether or not the grant funding that we got in order to make the park, we would end up having to pay some of that back, or what would happen to that money, or how that would work if we put between that and the fact that the ground there is essentially capped at this point, and I don't really think it would be in our best interest to dig into that ground, I would rule that site out. I don't think it's safe to dig down there. There's a lot of stuff in the ground, and if we start putting shovels in and disturbing that, then we're gonna have to deal with that. There's also drainage that runs through there that we would have to contend with. This site here, I am willing, obviously, to hear anybody's opinions on it. I think that where it would have to go would be very close to the sidelines of the property and to the Zeverati property, which abuts into the back, and there's no easy parking to utilize the building. But I am happy to hear any other thoughts on that. There are a couple of sites that are town-owned property that I would like to discuss, but first I'd like to hear thoughts on these two sites.
How much, but what have we looked into for digging? You mentioned digging and such. I didn't know, so a foundation is involved.
There's no digging.
We have to put something down.
That's why
Also, the area that they were looking at, there's state drainage that runs underneath there. There's also electrical conduit going out to the park that is under the ground also. So we gotta be very careful, plus the federal funding itself. Because I do the LPA, because I'm doing the sidewalk, they came out and stated that if you got funded for a certain purpose and then you decide you're gonna change that purpose, there's a chance that the federal government will ask for some of the money back.
Visibility wise, I like this because obviously more people would see it. We have more space there, maybe some space unused, but I hear the issues about, drainage and electrical.
Plus you have that waterfall that everybody loves, and it's gonna be a building that, if there's weddings that take place in there.
Yeah.
They have weddings that take place, people rent it for weddings.
And Mike, I get it with the homeowner, I guess it would be a variance of some sort to.
Right. And technically, we can just push that through, but that's not ideal.
But the thing with Jackman Park that we have to probably talk to the fire station about is the visibility coming out of the fire station.
There's that as
There's
well.
an emergency. We would have to talk to them about that too, because it's hard enough at this corner as it is. But that would be the other concern.
And I guess, my feeling is it doesn't, so I like the visibility, but heck, if it was in North Hinsdale, that would be maybe a place that people might think it was originally, although it wasn't originally there. So I don't know the other locations that you.
Can I describe the other locations we
Well,
have?
hang on, I just want to,
Yeah.
I mean, down here, seems like if we get enough rain, it can flood down there, so that would be one of my concerns is, here's this beautiful historic building that we're putting there and potentially could flood. Not often, but, I kinda like it up here, cause I kinda thought the other way for visibility was that, anytime you come to the town hall, where like, I think it's kinda nice that it's next to the fire station, the current fire station, which at some point won't be the current fire station, but, I don't know, it seems like a safer location to me, but then coming out of the fire station, like you said, visibility wise, but I kinda like this spot here.
Do we know exactly what's up and ground there and how, in fact, we did have to dig, if that was the case?
at this
Or
point,
you would go down,
at
or?
this point, no, we don't know.
I do know that when we did the sidewalk project in, when we did it, was transportation enhancement funds at that time, we hit oil. We hit oil. It was a pipe that actually came right out into the road, underneath the road that we ended up hitting, and we had to cap it. And then, of course, pay the expense of getting the oil taken away with waters and stuff like that. I know the corner of the community center has the back corner on the left-hand side if you're looking at it, has a system built into it because we hit stuff there, because it was an old mill, it was a tannery and everything fact that, you know, it's basically a reclaimed brownfield, really, is what that is. But, I mean, I have other options too that I've discussed a little bit with Mike. I have some properties that we have, and you guys are ready, I'll let you know.
I mean, based on what we're saying, like, considering what we would have to do, or not going over here, the second option would be the better, as far as what we currently have on the table now. So it's gonna be depending on what else you get, what alternatives.
So, there are three options that we've looked at that are town-owned properties. I'm gonna start with one, and I will state this with the caveat that at this moment, it is available. It may not be, because we are working on putting town properties up, you know, and trying to move them off the rolls. So if we can find a buyer for it, then it would go away, and that would be down on Canal Street. Is that 49?
5,
It's 5?
45.
45, okay, I apologize. 45 Canal Street, which is where it's currently a cellar hole. It's just a hole. That would put it on Canal Street, and it is currently town-owned property. I say that with the caveat that it could, if there's interest in it, then that property could go away, and that would not be an option. The next in downtown area is, we have half of the field between the church and
Mr. Pelkey's house.
Mr. Pelkey's house.
I like that one.
Half of that field is owned by the town, half of it is owned by the church. So there is the potential to put it there. That would have it on the other side of the road from the park. Therefore, we're not touching the park, we're not interfering with any of that stuff. It's still in downtown, it's still pretty visible, and it still has parking in front of it.
So if you're looking at the church, is it to the right or to the left?
If you're looking at Paul Pelkey's house,
Between the
it's directly right to the left of Paul Pelkey's house.
So it's that
It was
side.
actually taken by tax deed and torn down years ago.
about the same age.
So that is another one. The third possibility that was brought up is that we could move it out to North Hinsdale, out to the Boy Scout camp, what is now Boy Scout Hall. Put it on that property, there's plenty of room on that property. And the building's about that age, so it would be near similar age buildings. So those are the three alternative sites that we've identified. Again, the first one having that caveat of, we may not own that for very long. The other two, obviously, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, so they would be possibilities. So I'd like thoughts on all three of those, you know, when you put it into the mix.
Well, I think if you're able to make money off of the Canal Street property, I think that's,
Right.
we should be trying to sell that.
Mm-hmm.
Personally don't like the North Hinsdale idea, because I feel like we wanna keep it downtown and more visible and, but, I mean, keeping it right on Main Street, I mean, that would be nice, and if it's not being used, then it would get rid of the visibility concern for the fire department.
Yep.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
Steve, any thoughts?
I think though, in my mind, best options would be next to Pelkey or North Hinsdale, because again, I know it's not the same vintage, it's really old, but this property, the Boy Scout building's old. So I like both of those.
Okay.
That alleviates the park and the issues with.
I like Pelkey, keeping it on Main Street.
All right. So it sounds like the board would be in favor, so then this becomes a contingent on who we set up the MOU with. So we need to get that information, but it sounds like the board would be wanting to move towards the
And it's not
property.
that far to move the building.
Right, it's not far to move the building.
Yeah, we just did one.
We say that would be the direction, if I'm hearing correctly, that's the consensus of the board, and that would be the direction we would want to move, is planning on that being the location. Now we just need to get,
MOU, plus we need to make sure with the church that we won't be,
Right. yeah,
encroaching on their property, so
Yep.
we have to take a
we've
look
got,
at that.
we've got to make sure that all of that is correct, but that would be the direction that it sounds like the board wants to move. Everyone agrees?
Yes.
All right. So that will be the update for that, and now I've got 10 minutes.
Does anybody know who the church, who's the contact at the church now? Is it still
Catherine might.
Kathleen? Okay.
Who is the,
I don't think he's the reverend there anymore, is he?
Oh, I don't know. At the church?
Leon Momini?
Oh, I guess I don't know. Oh, he is, okay.
Leon Momini?
Don't even know if I get a name.
All right, round table.
I just have, Bernie will be back in time for Parks and Rec, so I'll sit in for Bernie on Thursday.
Okay.
That's all I have. That's all.
Okay.
Well, sort of leading into next week's meeting of the goal, right, it's next week for goals. I obviously, when I was running, I had said I wanted to look into better ways to get information out and that. And Matt Palmer had approached me last week, about some ideas that he had, so I just wanted to get your blessing, I guess, if it was okay to meet with him and just brainstorm a little bit, some ideas.
I guess this question will go out since Matt's here to Matt and Sean. What is the hierarchy chart looking like? Because I know personnel goes to the town side. Are we trying to keep brainstorming and ideas on the Parks and Rec advisory board side?
Brainstorming can happen on either side.
I'm
as
just
long as-
trying to, I want
But
to make
at some
sure,
point it has to come to the middle, and we all have to discuss it together, so.
I just want to make sure that if the board were to say, yes, one member can go ahead and have this discussion, that we're not going to be stepping on anyone's feet when we have just gotten to the point where we have an established hierarchy.
Yeah, and just to, to clarify too, the context of the conversation was just if there are going to be communications, initiatives coming out, then I was volunteering my time to help with whatever those things ended up being. It wasn't even necessarily specific to Parks and Rec. It was, if this is something that the town is trying to do, how can I help?
Okay, then I'm,
So it's broader than Parks and Rec. Is what I'm
I'm
trying to-
completely lost as to why.
Precedent issues with.
Well, I certainly don't want to set up a precedent. I'm completely lost as to why. I mean, that sounds like a discussion that would be had with the board, yes? If there were discussions about sharing information or something like that from the board, that would be a discussion with the board?
Yeah, but I think even that's putting too much. It was just if there are ways that we are trying to improve communication, then how can I help? That's the extent of that conversation. It wasn't.
So it's not a specific Parks and Rec thing? You
It
take Parks and
sounds
Rec out of
like
that whole
It's
conversation?
not a Parks and Rec thing.
All right, then, we'll take that out.
Then, yeah, I guess we're not talking about that. Okay, so what?
I think it was just like a general, like we had talked about, different ideas even when I was running, having the, meetings recorded and just, different ideas of what information could be put out and how could we do it and just general, not like.
Okay, it seems like that would be much more of a.
That was not a. Again, I literally just said, if there is something coming out, how can I help?
I want to make sure that you are having the voice that you want, but it sounds like that would be like when we're setting goals, something I'm just trying to figure it out because I don't wanna set,
Well, I think
A funky
I put it out
precedent.
there as I was, campaigning, that I
Mhm.
wanted to find better ways to inform, and I think, I don't know, I was just approached by someone who wanted to give ideas and having, discussed that we can't just have conversations on our own, I just wanted to make sure it was okay.
well, conversations can happen, I mean, conversations happen no matter what. That's, people talk, that happens, and I just,
Being too formal, I don't know.
Possibly.
I just wanna make sure that there are not actions being taken as an individual board member on the behalf on behalf of the board, you know what I'm saying?
I said I wanted to find better ways, and
Because I can
if somebody has.
be
ideas,
in here,
that's
Ray
fine.
Ned's getting breakfast, and Donna can come in and we can have a conversation. And I don't think anybody's going to say that that can't happen, but if Donna and I start planning things and me acting as the board or speaking for the board, then it becomes different, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I think then I'm being too formal in asking that it's okay. I just didn't want to be caught at the community center or something, talking to Matt, and have someone say, well, you can't do that, I'm just,
All right? Anything else?
no.
No, I'm good right now.
You good?
I know what that is. I think I know what we're talking about.
Just a reminder, next week, we are going to be working on the CIT and finalizing that so that we can have that prepared so that the next week we can have a final vote and have that put together officially. I think that's all I've got right now. And I've got,
We should also be touching base with the procedures and guidelines for the selectmen, and also part of the personnel policy.
right, we'll also be doing goal settings, so
Mhm.
it'll be a fun-filled meeting. I'm gonna start going around the room. I may or may not make it, depends on how much everybody has to say. I'll start over here.
So one fun thing that came out of last week's new collector workshop is that one of our neighboring towns has a brand new collector. I'll be mentoring him over the next few months.
Good.
It's been a busy day.
All right.
So I will formalize this more with Jill when we get a little bit more time, but I've been approached a few times about parking spaces on either side of the community center. It's very, very difficult to have visibility because it's a decline coming out, especially the one between the post office and the community center, that one spot there. Yeah, obviously we can have a bigger discussion on this, but if you by there, go stand in the driveway and look to your right and and to pay attention to the visibility there.
Actually, the one on the other side's a problem too.
Yeah, they both are, but
Yeah.
the one to the right is
I was pulling out the other, like
Some
a
of that
couple weeks
T-bone
ago,
there too.
and I could have been involved in a fun little.
Yeah.
incident.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about when the most traffic is coming through there in the middle of the day, you've got the most vulnerable people driving and the most traffic, and I think it's something that should be looked at by the select board.
All right, anything else? Hazel?
Yeah, I go on the website for the town quite often, and I try to read up on the notes from the different committees and the select board meeting minutes and everything like that. And I would like to urge the board to include in the minutes the full description of something, for instance, CIT. What is that? And then make a note hereafter referred to as CIT so that anybody reading it will know what's going on. It's kind of like makes you scratch your head, and then you've got to figure out what all these things are. So if at the first time in the meeting minutes that are posted, the full name of whatever it is that's therefore after going to be abbreviated is spelled out, I think that would help communicating with other residents to know more fully what's going on.
Okay. And it's counselor in training.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, thank you. Secondly, I'd like to revisit the Hope Engine and encourage you to think again about putting it up in North Hinsdale. There's a lot of markers in the town that say, near this site, or formerly at this site, there was X, Y, and Z, and I don't see that as an issue to have people more aware of the fact that there's the other half of town 2 miles up the road. It would be a nice place to bring kids other than just for scout meetings. So I would urge you to reconsider the North Hinsdale site.
So you are in favor of the North Hinsdale site?
Yes, sir, I am.
Duly noted.
Thank you. And going through some of the meeting minutes from the Budget Committee and from the Cemetery Committee and from the Select Board meeting minutes, I find that the cemetery is occasionally referred to as Cemetery and Parks Committee. And then in other places, it's Parks and Recreation Committee. So I think for any future consideration for any kind of lawn mowing that we were thinking about buying a lawnmower for those places, I want to make sure that we're dealing just with the cemeteries and that it's not something that's going to bleed off into the parks.
Okay. All righty. Well, it's just after 6:30. I'm going to go ahead and call the public hearing into order. I guess I will read this notice. As part of the cable franchise renewal proceedings between the town of Hinsdale, New Hampshire and Comcast pursuant to NHRSA 53-C:3-A, the town will be holding a public hearing on the proposed amendment to the cable television franchise agreement on March 25th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in Hinsdale, New Hampshire at the Town Hall, 11 Main Street in Hinsdale. The proposed amendment to the cable television franchise agreement is available for review at the town clerk's office at 11 Main Street, Hinsdale, New Hampshire. During the hours the clerk's office is open. So, public hearing is now open. Real quickly, just because I'm sure the dying question on everybody's mind is, what am I talking about? We have a franchise agreement with Comcast to allow them to provide cable in town. The original agreement was originally signed at November 29th in 2010, and it's every 5 years that we review and renew the agreement. The last time this was done was November 28th, 2015, so we're just getting ready for the next iteration of this process. So I will ask if anyone has any questions or comments on the Comcast television franchise agreement. Well, I just told you, it's just to allow them to be able to provide cable in town. That's all the agreement is. There are a few perks we get. I believe there are a certain tier of TV that's provided in the community center.
The library gets cable.
Library gets cable, and we have access to a public access channel. That, of course, would cost us money to do because we have to provide the equipment and studio stuff, but we have access to the channel. I don't remember what.
There's also a cost on to the clients, I think it's $5 per client.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
per month.
if we access said public access channel, then there's a $5 a month per user fee that is included. So that is,
Been left as an option.
yep, we keep it in there whenever we go something like that, it's just a blank channel. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Does Hinsdale have any kind of fiber infrastructure already in place, or, I was just curious, because Chesterfield passed that in their town meeting, and
Yeah.
wasn't sure if we have any of that here.
I don't know what the extent of our fiber is. That is a good question. I'm not sure what the extent of it is. I'm pretty sure we don't have it, door to door,
Right.
or to every doorstep as the proposal was for Chesterfield.
Right.
For anybody who doesn't know, Chesterfield passed a bond article that is going to allow fiber optic to every driveway. And then there will be a $10 charge to the users if they hook up to it. But they will have fiber optic to every home in Chesterfield. It was a $1.3 million bond, and the total project is going to be somewhere in the area of $4.6 million, which Comcast will get with their fees, the monthly charges. So unfortunately, I can't answer that any more than that.
Yeah, and those maps are proprietary, so it's not even
Right.
something you could Google, but.
Yeah. Any other questions? Then with that, I will close the public hearing, and
Motion.
I need a motion for the board to sign if the board has no issues.
I'll make the
We have
motion.
discussion, then let's have discussion.
That we sign.
There's a motion made and seconded to sign the franchise agreement. Discussion on that? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Okay, I have the sign here on page 2, but there's also places for people to sign on page 3, and your name's on it, where you're supposed to sign. You're on page 3 if you can. On page 2.
Lisa, did you have anything else?
Just one other thing, when the highway department goes around and culls dead trees and dangerous limbs and such like that, is there a program in town set up for those people who might be pretty darn indigent and only heat their house by wood to be able to get that wood?
The question has come up before.
Some towns have done it, but there's some liability issues involved in it.
Right. As I understand it, Frank has always let the
People come
welfare
and if
department
somebody wants
know.
it, it's up to them to come and get it and cut it
Right.
up and all that kind of stuff.
There's no set procedure
transparency and ease of navigation. And I also, as an aside, I know this probably isn't the right meeting for this, but I just want to throw out a concern I've noticed driving around town. I see properties all the time with the sand pit has a handwritten sign on it saying 193 acres available, will subdivide. I don't know how attractive that is to a potential commercial customer.
Unfortunately, they're allowed to have a sign up, and as long as it meets the requirements, that's the property owners. It's nothing we have control over.
Right, so we
So
can't.
I understand what you're saying, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
that's.
yeah, market properties that when you go on Zillow and you don't see them at all. I mean,
Yep.
that's all.
All right, so I'm gonna come this way now. Donna?
Oh, well, I just wanted to say about the location of the Hope Building, to the lady who mentioned North Hinsdale. The reason why I didn't select it for the building is because it belongs to the fire department for the mill era of Hinsdale, which would be 1850s or and earlier. And the reason is because it was for all the mills that were down here, right in Main Street and Canal Street of Hinsdale. And there were originally 3 of those buildings. One is the building I moved on Canal Street. The other one was right here behind Town Hall. And the third one was currently where the fire station is. Those 2 have been demolished. And I wanted to keep it as close to where the mills were. As a reminder, this used to be a mill town. You know, if you ride through now, there's nothing to indicate that my father worked in the mill, my grandfather worked in the mill. People come and say, what mills? So that was built to, in case any of the mills had fires, to put out the fires in the mill. So I'd like to keep it as close to the original location as possible. So.
All right, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you would be in favor of the location, the last location that we had talked about near Pelkey's?
Yes, somewhere close to the original location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Oh,
Ken?
No, I don't have anything. I did a quick search of the website. I did a traffic analysis of it, and I found that from the period of January to, I think it was February, we had 200 and odd unique IPs hitting that website.
Okay.
Just for the few months that we had, but other than that, not much.
All right, thank you. Sean?
I'll have a ton of stuff next week, but nothing this week.
Very good.
Have we ever explored alternatives to Comcast?
In this area, there's no one else that's
Yeah.
offering. We're just
I
too far
can't-
out.
I can't think of anybody, but
Comcast.
They're
They're-
not
they're-
my favorites. They can't be in each other's areas, so once you
Right.
go
Yeah.
south.
Yeah, yeah, it just doesn't work.
and I really do like next to Belkins.
You like Pelkey's as well, so that's another one for Pelkey's. Anything else? Moving to the back. Anything? No? All right, then I am ready for a motion to go into non-public under personnel, and I would like to thank everyone for coming.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Those in favor?
Then they go into non-public, so we're done. They do
Oh,
their,
so we're done
they do
here?
their business.
Yeah, you can.
No, I know that.